Your future is being priced right now, and it is not priced in your favor. They told you to learn skills, work harder, invest patiently, and eventually the ladder shows up. But the real ladder is disappearing in real time, and the only people climbing are the ones already holding the rope. In 2026, the uncomfortable truth is simple. Money is not earned by effort alone. Money is extracted through attention, trust, distribution, and timing. And in the modern economy, the highest profit skill for the next decade is not a glamorous craft, and it is not a lucky talent. It is marketing, and more specifically, the ability to create demand while everyone else is trying to build a product nobody asked for. This is not financial advice. This is financial education. I am going to show you the mechanics behind why the same people seem to get ahead no matter what happens in the economy, while you are stuck watching prices rise, wages lag, and your friends quietly give up. Let me ask you something. When you last felt inflation eased, did your grocery bill actually stop punishing you? When the headlines said the labor market was resilient, did your rent actually become affordable?
When the stock market hit another high, did your personal finances suddenly feel safer? Or did you just feel more detached from reality? Most people are living the same contradiction, and they do not understand it because nobody explains the mechanism. Here is the mechanism. In 2026, you do not lose money only because of interest rates or price changes. You lose money because your income side of the ledger is too slow, too weak, and too irrelevant compared to the speed of modern capital markets. Your salary is a trickle. Wealth is a fire hose, and the fire hose runs on attention. Marketing is how that attention becomes revenue. Now, the next part is going to feel personal, because it has to. You were taught to chase skills like they were magic spells. Learn economics, learn management, learn programming, learn artificial intelligence. All good stuff on paper. But if your goal is money, you have to be brutally honest about what finally converts into cash. Cash does not show up because you understand theory. Cash shows up because someone decides they want your thing enough to trade their limited money for it. And if nobody buys, your knowledge is just expensive decoration. Picture this. A 30-year-old nurse named David did everything right. He worked overtime during the worst months, kept his credit clean, and tried to invest in himself. He took an online course and built a small side project that sounded brilliant, an app that promised to help patients manage appointments. In his mind, the app would spread because it was useful. He launched, and then the app sat there like a beautiful tombstone. No downloads that mattered, no paying users, no pipeline. Just the quiet humiliation of realizing that he built something that might work, but nobody cared enough to reach for it. He kept adding features because that felt productive. Meanwhile, the rent kept rising, the car needed repairs, and the stress piled up like unpaid bills. Now imagine instead that David had learned the one skill that forces products to meet customers. Marketing, not spam, not gimmicks. Marketing as demand creation, distribution, trust building, and conversion. That is what decides whether your effort turns into cash flow. And yes, in 2026, the world is even more hostile to people who skip that step. Artificial intelligence is coding better than most people. It is summarizing better than most writers. It is generating product descriptions, designing ads, and producing content drafts faster than you can say brand strategy. The old advice from 2020 was, learn to code and you will be safe. That advice is now a joke with an invoice attached. If AI can produce the thing you plan to create, then the only remaining advantage is the thing you cannot easily automate, getting the right people to care and getting them to act. So the question becomes, how does marketing work in the real world, not in motivational slides? The answer is that marketing is not one action, it is a system, and if you understand the system, you stop blaming yourself for not being lucky. You start seeing the funnel that was never explained to you. Let's break it down without the fluff, because this is where most people keep failing. First, marketing starts with attention. In business language, that means bringing the right people into the range of your message. If you do not have an audience, your offer is like a storefront in the middle of the desert. You can make the best product in the world and still starve. Most people, when they start something, do the opposite. They build the product first, then hope the customers magically appear like magic beans. That is not entrepreneurship. That is gambling with your future. In the real world, money is created through flow. People move from awareness to trust to purchase to retention and then to referrals. If you are missing the first step, the whole machine never gets traction. In 2026, this is not just theory. Look at what happened to creator economy hype. You were told that everyone can make passive income with content. Many people tried. The average creator does not earn enough to cover groceries. Most channels plateau at income levels so low they are statistically irrelevant. Yet the same platforms keep showing you fantasies of viral viral success like it is normal. Why? Because attention is valuable and attention is monetized. The platform takes a cut. The algorithm rewards engagement. And most creators are not actually selling value. They are selling hope. That is why most creators end up trapped in the same cycle. Post, hope, burnout, repeat. This is also why the learn marketing conversation matters so much right now. AI can generate content, but it cannot replace understanding of human desire, willingness to pay, and the psychology of trust. Now here is the pattern interrupt. While you were busy learning to optimize your profile on social media, the people who are actually making money were building funnels that run without you. They use content to attract. They use emails and retargeting to nurture. They use offers to convert. They use customer experience to keep people paying. That last part is where most people lie to themselves. They think marketing is just getting leads. But leads without conversion are expensive air. Conversion without fulfillment is fraud. And fulfillment without retention is just a one-time payday that collapses when attention gets expensive. So step 1 is attraction. Step 2 is trust. Step 3 is conversion. Step 4 is fulfillment and satisfaction. Step 5 is upsell and increasing value per customer. Step 6 is referral or viral growth that turns customers into marketers. You might recognize how obvious this sounds, but the devil is in the sequence. If your trust step is weak, people will try you and then disappear. If your conversion step is weak, people will trust you and still not pay. If your fulfillment is weak, the referrals die. If upsell is missing, you are leaving money on the table and you will feel broke even when sales exist. Now, why does this matter in a world of rising inequality? Because the top 1% does not win by working harder. They win by owning the distribution channels, the capital structures, and the ability to capture attention at scale. When housing becomes detached from wages and inflation quietly robs your purchasing power, middle-class people feel cornered. Their desperation makes them vulnerable to the wrong promises, the same way famine makes people accept bad food. And marketing is how promises become purchases. You have seen this before. Think about Steve Jobs. Was he begging people to buy? No. The point was that the product was positioned as a desire, not a technical solution. Jobs did not say, "Please validate my income." He engineered a feeling. People lined up because they wanted to be part of something. Now you might think that kind of marketing only belongs to giants with giant budgets. But in 2026, giant budgets are less important than leverage. Leverage comes from using existing attention networks and using AI to reduce the cost of content production and ad testing. You can do marketing at the level of a normal person if you understand the system. Not by copying corporate behavior, by learning how to attract the right people and guide them through the funnel. So let's make it concrete with a micro story that mirrors your life. Imagine a local gym. The owner does not need a Hollywood ad campaign. The owner needs people who want fitness right now. So the gym defines a niche. Maybe it is postpartum recovery. Maybe it is strength training for office workers. Maybe it is a community for people who hate crowded class schedules. The gym attracts with offers that match the pain. Then the gym does something underrated. It educates. It builds trust through coaching, results tracking, and clear communication. Nobody signs up because they are impressed by a poster. They sign up because they believe they will see change. Then the gym converts. That means the sign-up process is frictionless, pricing is transparent, and the value is obvious. After the purchase, the gym fulfills. If the gym takes the money and disappears, it is done. If the gym delivers, the gym gets retention. Now comes upsell. The gym does not just say, "Pay us more," it offers the next logical step. Maybe nutritional support, maybe personalized training, maybe a membership upgrade for people who want structured progress. And then the gym creates referral, discounts for bringing friends, small perks, recognition. The gym understands that word of mouth is the cheapest marketing on earth because it is a trust transfer from one person to another. This model is not unique to gyms. It is the DNA of successful businesses everywhere, online and offline. Now we have covered the funnel. But you are still probably thinking, okay, but where do I get traffic? Because the harsh truth is that most people fail at step 1, not step 5. So here is the ugly question. How do you find attention when everyone is competing for it, and the algorithm changes every few months? The old answer was expensive ads. The new answer is still distribution, but distribution is cheaper if you pick the right ocean. In business terms, you must decide where the crowd already is. Then you show up there consistently. In earlier years, the crowds were on television. Whoever got on television got recognized. The rest of the economy followed attention. Then the internet shifted attention. And the early winners were the ones who realized that digital traffic is not magic. It is a marketplace of eyeballs. In 2026, traffic is still the bottleneck, but now the traffic is fractured across platforms: search, social, short video, communities, streaming, and newsletters. And AI makes it even easier to produce content, which increases competition. So the advantage shifts again. Your content has to be sharper. Your offer has to be clearer. Your targeting has to be ruthless. Now here is another pattern interrupt. Do you know why many people fail at marketing even after they learn what a funnel is? Because they keep trying to sell to people who are not ready. They treat marketing like persuasion. It is not persuasion. It is timing and relevance. It is matching a specific offer to a specific moment of desire. That is why generic content dies. That is why broad targeting wastes money. The people who win are the ones who understand what their customer wants before the customer can articulate it. This is especially brutal in a recession-like environment, which is what 2026 feels like for many households even when official statistics look fine. Real purchasing power does not return just because the headline inflation number calms down. Your salary grows slower than costs, your savings get eaten, your rent and insurance costs climb anyway, and then you are forced to choose between paying bills and investing. When people get squeezed, their attention becomes more intense. They binge money content, they search for deals, they watch videos about passive income at 2 in the morning. And yes, predators feed on that. The scammers are better now too because AI lowers the cost of deception. So your marketing has to be more than flashy. It has to be credible enough that people will trust you while they are stressed and skeptical. This brings us to the next escalation. Trust building is not a tactic you can fake. It is a behavior you practice, and in 2026 it is tested brutally. You know what most scammers do? They sell without giving real value first. They rush to payment, rush to urgency, rush to fear, and they keep their claims vague. They want money before the customer can evaluate whether they are lying. Real marketing, the kind that creates long-term assets, does the opposite. It gives value first, not because of morality theater, because the human brain needs proof. There is a reason why the fastest path to trust is consistent helpfulness, not constant promotion. When you show competence over time and you solve real problems, people do not just believe you, they depend on you. Now I want you to notice something you probably have not connected before. Trust is what turns traffic into revenue. It is also what turns revenue into stability. In 2026, stability is the scarce resource. Many people are one layoff away from disaster because AI and automation are trimming middle-layer jobs faster than the workforce can adapt. Companies do not fire entry-level workers first. They optimize layers. They cut roles where the human touch is not proven to be essential. They replace them with software, models, and automation. So if you are trying to build a career, you feel it. If you are trying to build a business, you feel it. The market is not just competitive, it is ruthless. And that is why marketing is not merely a business skill, it is a survival skill. Let me give you an empathy knife story. A friend of mine rented out apartments. One tenant arrived without any relationship built in advance. Just normal landlord and tenant. The tenant would send small food gifts at times. My friend initially rejected it because he did not want to encourage anything, but the tenant kept doing it, consistently, without drama. Over time, my friend felt something shift. Not a romance, not a promise, a sense of character. The tenant was building trust with tiny actions. Then one day the tenant asked to borrow money, not a huge amount, enough to test the waters. My friend agreed because the amount was small and because the tenant had earned credibility through repetition. The tenant repaid on time and even treated my friend to a nice meal. Then the tenant asked for more. Then more. And then, at $10,000, the tenant vanished. Here is the lesson you are supposed to take, even if it disgusts you. The tenant understood trust mechanics. He understood how humans decide whether to say yes. He built goodwill before requesting money, and he used it to exploit. Now, before you think this is a story about criminals being geniuses, understand the darker truth. Many legitimate business owners understand these mechanics too, but they apply them incorrectly. They try to extract value immediately instead of building it sustainably. So the question becomes, can you build trust without performing exploitation? A real marketer does not just create belief. A real marketer creates outcomes. They deliver what they promise. They follow up. They reduce risk for the customer. They make it easy to understand what will happen after purchase. In other words, they build a reputation that survives skepticism. In 2026, reputation is becoming one of the few competitive advantages that AI cannot generate for you. Robots can write copy. They cannot create genuine customer experience at scale without actual operations. Now you might be thinking, okay, but does this actually make money? Yes, because the funnel is math. If 10% of people who see you buy, and you have 100,000 people who see you, you have 10,000 buyers. Then a portion is thrilled. A portion becomes repeat customers, and a smaller portion becomes promoters who bring more people. If your funnel starts too small, your compounding never begins. Here is where people break psychologically. They want to skip the early boring phase. They want instant sales. They want immediate conversion. But most customers are not ready on day one. They need education. They need to see you again and again. They need to be reassured by others. That is why modern marketing has two tracks: direct conversion and long-term nurturing. Ads and content and outreach are the front end. Email lists, retargeting, customer communities, and post-purchase follow-ups are the back end. And if you are not building those assets, you are constantly starting over. Now here is the darkest pattern interrupt in this entire topic. Many people treat marketing like a job they do to make sales, and then they ignore it when it stops paying instantly. That means they are building a temporary cash stream, not an asset. Meanwhile, the people who understand marketing are building a machine. They are building audience equity. They are building customer lifetime value. They are building referral compounding. That is why, even when the economy gets worse, some companies still grow. Their attention and trust infrastructure keeps working. Now let's connect this to what is happening to ordinary people in 2026. Housing is the big one. Rent and mortgages are destroying long-term plans. In the United States, in the United Kingdom, in Canada, in Australia, housing costs have detached from wage growth for years. People who were saving for a house learned the cruel trick. The down payment is not the final cost. There is maintenance, insurance, taxes, opportunity cost, and interest rate risk. Even when interest rates cool, affordability can remain broken. Because the baseline prices are already priced for a different era. And that means households are increasingly renters for life. You are not just buying fewer things, you are losing flexibility. So when flexibility is gone, money becomes more fragile. Every emergency becomes a threat. Every job change becomes a crisis. And in that state, people are desperate for certainty. That is where marketing gets dangerous. Because desperation increases the value of a confident promise. This is why you need to understand marketing so you can protect yourself too. You should not be fooled by wealth hacks that require nothing but watching a video and believing in yourself. If an offer cannot survive basic scrutiny, it is marketing designed for extracting money, not creating value. In 2026, institutional players understand this as well. Crypto promised freedom from banks, then regulation tightened, then exchanges consolidated, then big institutions moved in. Retail investors became liquidity. The promise of decentralization became a brand, while the economics became centralized. Marketing did what it always does. It sells an identity. It sells a story. It sells the feeling of being early, being smarter, being free. But the reality is that when institutional adoption rises, retail gets squeezed by spreads, custody fees, and product complexity. That is not a conspiracy. That is a market. And the same story repeats in finance content. Passive income dreams, dropshipping dreams, trading signals. The real money is often in the marketing layer, not in the promised outcome. So if you want to build something real, you must master marketing ethically and effectively, with an emphasis on value and fulfillment. Not because ethics are trendy, but because it creates durable trust. Durable trust creates durable cash flow. Now we still have one missing piece in the funnel: conversion.